Hi, everyone. It's Rebecca Imholtz with the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce. I am so glad that you can join us today for the pivot. We have a really fun pivot going on today because I happen to know both guests personally, and they have very strong marketing and print media backgrounds, and we're going to be talking about how they have pivoted before and during COVID-19. Before we get to that, I do want to remind everyone that our virtual luncheon is this Thursday, and our guest speaker is Congressman Joe Cunningham. So if you haven't registered, please go ahead and do so, as our registration is limited. It's free to attend the virtual lunch, but please go ahead and register. Just go to mountpleasantchamber.org. And now it's with great pleasure that I get to once again introduce our moderator for today, John Carroll. John is president of Unlimited Performance Incorporated. John helps executives, teams, and organizations be more productive and profitable. John serves on many local advisory boards in the Lowcountry, and we so appreciate him and his expertise and time with the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce, where John serves on our executive board of directors. And John is the brainchild behind the Pivot webinar that has been very well received during COVID-19. And I welcome now our moderator for today, John Carroll. Hello, John.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for your kind introduction. Thank you for being the glue that holds all of this and so many other things together for the Mount Pleasant Chamber. Glad to be with you today. We are The Pivot, a weekly series of informational discussions on our local, regional, and national issues in the midst of and following the current pandemic. This event is presented exclusively by the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce. My role as moderator is to introduce our guests, get the discussion started with some questions, and give those attending the event live the opportunity to participate by using the chat or Q&A function, which Rebecca will be monitoring throughout. Thank you for taking the time with the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce to join fellow members and staying informed to help you care for your team, your clients and customers, and taking care of business in post-pandemic conditions. You know, businesses everywhere are finding ways to pivot. Some have done so a bit further and more quickly than others. And today we have owners of two local businesses that have experienced really earth-shaking changes, one involving a primary supplier and the other its target market. Let's meet these owners and hear their stories of challenge, decision, and action. Our first guest today on The Pivot is Nikki Bernay. Nikki and her husband, Greg, are experienced local business owners and publishers who just launched Local Trend Charleston, which focuses on the local business community, highlighting locally owned and operated companies. Nikki has worked for more than 25 years in newspaper, radio, television, magazines, and direct mail. She helped launch and market national brands, including Carfax, and after 9/11, helped launch the first national radio campaign for the FBI and its recruiting efforts, resulting in the FBI receiving national media exposure for its forward and creative thinking. Nikki and Greg recognized that coming out of COVID-19 and the pandemic, the marketplace would be different, and they needed a fresh new look to capture the attention of consumers and help local businesses have an edge in building their companies back to pre-lockdown success and beyond. Prior to Local Trend, Nikki and her husband published and mailed Money Mailer, an advertising publication, for nearly 10 years, during which time they won numerous awards, including the President's Club Award. Now their focus is on Local Trend Charleston, a full-color publication mailed first to homes east of the Cooper River, with plans to expand to the Tri-County area. Nikki serves on the Mount Pleasant Chamber Board as Philanthropy Committee Co-Chair. Nikki, welcome to The Pivot.
Hi, John. So nice to be here today. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Glad to have you with us.
Yeah, so we experienced a major pivot, not really one that was initiated by choice, but as you mentioned, Greg and I own the Local Money Mailer, direct mail publication, for almost 10 years. It was a franchise headquartered out of California. And on March 27th, we got the Dear John letter. We're closing our doors. We're packing up your trophies, your desk, and that's it. We had no idea that there were challenges within the franchisor, the system, really. Prior to that, we kind of were living in our own little world here for so long and doing a fine job. And eventually, one day, we wanted to sell the business to add to our nest egg. Well, so on March 27th, we got the Dear John letter, and we had to make a decision as to what we were going to do. How were we going to pay our bills? How were we going to make a living? But not only that, we had relationships with a lot of these businesses in the communities that really relied on us, excuse me, and our expertise to help start a business, grow their business. So that really, not only did we lose our business, you know, the weight of the world of all of those other businesses was on our shoulders. So we partnered with about 10 other ex-Money Mailer franchisees. We said, hey, we've been wanting to make changes because as part of a franchise system, oftentimes they take a cookie cutter approach. It's really what's good for one market is good for all markets. So it really gave us the opportunity to kind of create something different and upgrade and do something, all of those things that we've wanted to do over the years, but weren't able to because we were tied to that cookie cutter franchise system. And don't get me wrong, it served us well, but it really got us off the hamster wheel. You know, someone tells you how to do something for so long, you just do, you know, and thinking out of the box for us just wasn't always, we didn't always have that opportunity. Right. So we partnered with 10 other franchisees. We went direct to the vendors. And within 90 days, we pulled off what we think is a much nicer, sleeker, sexier kind of product that we thought that the consumers, the community would embrace. But not only that, that would also help our book of business or our clients that we've been working with over the years. So, yeah, we really were forced to pivot. It wasn't, right. You know.
Right. It wasn't something you were thinking of, hey, I wonder, you know, maybe, no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. That's that's an amazing story, Nikki, and I'm sure there's a lot more to that too. But let's also bring in our other guest and see, because I know I want to hear more, and everybody wants to hear more about how you did end up pivoting and what you've got as a result of that. Let's introduce our second guest. Joining us for this discussion is Bill Sweeney. Bill is the founder of Striped Rock, created in 2005 to offer senior network marketing and media solutions. The company publishes all about seniors, resource and referral directories in 4 metropolitan areas in the Carolinas: Charleston, Charlotte, upstate South Carolina, and Columbia, with an eye on adding the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand area. In addition to contract publishing and media placement, the firm also offers senior industry marketing expertise and event promotion services, and has a very substantial social media and daily digest email services for seniors, caregivers, and senior industry professionals. And you can find that at scspin.org, Senior Professional Industry Network, and seniorsengage.com, that it provides information that relates to seniors engaging while they age. Bill has been an avid cyclist and a fundraiser, participating annually in the Ride to Remember, a several 100-mile ride through South Carolina, raising money for Alzheimer's research and programs supporting families dealing with Alzheimer's. Bill hails from Charlotte and currently enjoys coastal living full-time in Mount Pleasant. Bill, welcome to The Pivot.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here. It's interesting, Nikki, hearing your story. I just, as a publisher, you just kind of cringe when you hear those things. But we know when sometimes curveballs are thrown at us, it kind of knocks us down a little bit, but we just get back up. And I think in many times, in a lot of businesses, we end up doing it better. And I think that's probably going to be her future, it sounds like to me. But it's being in business since 05. I've actually been in the publishing industry since 92. So as we're all getting our aging on, I had a vast experience with working for some big national companies, and then launching on my own in 2005. So that was that was probably my biggest pivot in life. Back in 05. So, and obviously this year has just been a surprise to all of us, and it's been a big curveball to all of us. So we all try to look for ways, and as much as our personal life as our professional life, just to stay active, stay engaged, and to make sure that we keep value at the forefront somehow. And as much as it's changing every day, we don't know what Dr. Fauci is going to tell us tomorrow.
Isn't that about it? I'm not so sure Dr. Fauci knows what he's going to tell us tomorrow.
I don't know. We just don't know. It's on, off. So
he checks his numbers just like everybody else.
To adjust. So I didn't know how much more, if you want me to talk about my business and kind of what we're doing, or you want to go back.
Let me ask you about that. Nikki gave us a little bit of her story about how the necessity to pivot. And Bill, in your case, the COVID-19 virus threatens the health of not only every human on the planet, but some segments, certainly more extremely than others. Talk about how your target market has been hit hard by the pandemic and resulting lockdown.
Yeah, John, as we know, our target market, which is our readership, are seniors and caregivers, and they are certainly by far the most vulnerable population. They've been hit the hardest, and we know that. And with anything like this, and if it's even a bad flu season, they're the population who really gets hit. And they're the ones, it's kind of one of the things I kind of have instilled in myself, is just trying to help those that cannot help themselves. And we know that population in many cases cannot. And they just don't know what to believe these days either. But the good side is the industry itself was probably more prepared, I think, than most, even though there's been a lot of difficulties, is dealing with, very sick people and very vulnerable people in a lot of ways. I just think some of the misdirection that they were given has caused probably more we'll say death is death than not. But I see all these great things, and they've adapted, and with whether it's the independent living or assisted livings and all the senior communities, they've really done an outstanding job at trying to keep our seniors safe. We know it's not foolproof, and but they've really adapted and adjusted very well. And for us, it's because we publish a resource directory more than a magazine. The challenge has been for us to get it in the hands of the folks that need it to try to help others or help themselves. And that's been our biggest challenge. And that even comes into some of Nikki's background, because if we've kind of changed our hand-to-hand direct delivery in a lot of the medical community and a lot of places that were no longer accepting magazines and resources, just because they were afraid that might be something that would pass the virus on. We have found other ways to continue to be active in getting the publication in the hands. And a lot of that's been through doing direct mail programs and just more specialized and working with a lot of the nonprofit agencies, government agencies. And we've just continued to adapt and change. And we just published the newest edition in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's all about seniors COVID-19 edition. So to think that we would put that brand on the cover of a magazine, no one would have ever guessed that, 7 or 8 months ago. So it's been quite the change.
Yes, indeed. And all of a sudden, and I would imagine, Bill, likewise, that you've got some people who are all of a sudden find themselves marketing to the market that you cover out of, again, necessity, out of realizing that what they make is something that the people you market to need.
Right. Yes. It's been hard for some of the communities, I think, but a lot of the services, there's been more of a need, I think, than there was previous. I think some of the fear still exists of moving mom into an assisted living somewhere, but not knowing maybe that they are really receiving new residents. They were shut down for a period of time, but they are really wanting new residents too. And they are very well prepared to accept the new residents and to keep them safe.
Right.
They've done, I mean, one of the jobs, I love my job and all that work within the company. We all have a passion for what we do. But I'll tell you, the job of an executive director running one of these communities, that is a tough job, and I cannot imagine. And we are very thankful for the job they do. I mean, they literally, most of them have moved in their community, have been living there for the last 5.5 months.
Wow.
So it's amazing. But they're doing just overall just an outstanding job in taking care of our seniors. But then you go to the vulnerable population. That's what we call shut-ins, that are at home and can't get out anywhere, or
Right.
in fear to get out somewhere.
Right.
Those are the ones that have been the most difficult, and the types of services that go into the home. But that's where government services have really had to step up to the plate, or your neighbors or your family, to check on that loved one, make sure they have what they need. And so what we've done is we've taken, because our resources, over 50 categories of services, it has all the contact information, a lot of the how-tos in there, is we have, we'll say some good things about the post office this week. There hasn't been the best news for the post office this week, but they've done an outstanding job of getting our publication into those homes. And they really have a great system online. So they've done a good job in helping us continue to be access to our seniors and vulnerable population.
Thanks, Bill, for that. So let's bring Nikki back in. And Nikki, I kind of put everybody in suspense for a minute or two. You gave us a kind of a taste of what had to happen and what ended up happening as you pivoted away from your 10-year relationship, but you had relationships coming out of there that you took advantage of. You had business savvy that you brought to the table from prior experience. Talk about how you have pivoted to make the best of what could be, at best a tough situation, and taking care of the local area that still holds great potential for you and those client relationships.
Yeah, so, what's really been one of our biggest challenges is that we're having to adapt to the businesses themselves and their messaging and what they say and how they say it. It's not just one standard message anymore. Meaning that, for example, the restaurants, how to convey messaging for social distancing. And so we're really having to pivot on a daily basis and have to work with our clients really a lot closer than we ever have, because what they're saying and what they're doing is constantly evolving and changing. And it's really hard for, oftentimes I feel like we're kind of that we bend an ear more so for these clients, because they have to protect their employees right now. And several of the businesses, their employees have contracted COVID. They're having to shut down. They're having to pay for the testing to have everyone tested. So I don't know. I mean, we're having to pivot our business with the businesses that we work with, and we were very fortunate to have that relationship, that we had for 10 years with all of them. So yeah, it's every day it's different. So it's a constant pivot.
Constant pivot, right? It's not a pivot as in past tense. It's pivoted and pivoting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you make a great point about that. As Bill said, let's see what Dr. Fauci has to say tomorrow, and how that impacts what we're trying to do tomorrow and the day after. So, Bill, talk a little bit more about how you've been able to pivot. You've talked about the the Postal Service and those challenges with people not not wanting to handle things that have come to the door or through the door. But it's been 5 months, and it's almost as if your market is a bit under siege. It's unreachable in some ways.
Yes, it's as we keep stating, I mean, it evolves every day. So it's just adapting and adjusting to that. Like a lot of our delivery now, where we might deliver a handful of publications, we're delivering a case, because we know that the publications are protected and our drivers are wearing, and which we have our circulation folks all work directly for the company. So we have a little bit of control over that, and they're wearing gloves, of course, masks, as we're all wearing masks all the time, but gloves too, and delivering whole cases of books so that they're kept safe from being touched by anyone else. And then the agencies are using those, and they're visiting the home or going out to make sure that they're delivered. And then, folks you get some magazines, full, 100, 140, 50 page magazines delivered, but not a lot of free ones delivered to the home. So I think a lot were surprised to get such a nice publication. And it's really expanded our readership and visibility, which has been awesome. The response from all the EDDM stuff has been excellent. And it's done relatively affordable, but that's also been a big cost for us too, as a business, but it's the right thing to do. So it's kind of reinvesting in the market. I personally feel that I think in a few months, I think we're going to, wake up with a vaccine out there that's pretty effective. And I think things will kind of move forward. I think some things will change forever. But I think a lot of things will just move forward, and we'll kind of get back to maybe a little more normalcy. I don't think complete. I think we've learned a lot through this, and we hope that something like this will never happen again. But we're just, it's having a scalable business, I think, is important, to where you can downsize in some areas and you increase in some other areas. To me, as a business owner, certainly the impact we have on the community is extremely important, but the employees that work with the company, that have been very loyal to the company and to me, and when I'm a loyalist in that way, so they are to me, I am to them. So it's protecting those employees and making sure that they have a viable job. And it's been hard for them. Us, or Nikki, the same. We're in sales, and we're kind of out. We might be introverted, but we're outgoing people in our business, and that's been difficult to do it from Zoom and not go out and shake some hands and hug someone, like 50 people a day down to zero. I mean, that's a big change in humanity, and I'm in a very compassionate, caring, loving industry. Sure. And seeing the pictures and the videos when you've got a loved one and their daughter or son are visiting them from an outside window, and that's how they get to see mom and dad. I'm going to visit my mother in Charlotte. She's turning 88 on Thursday. And, I've been in fear to go into her home in the last 5 months. So I haven't physically seen her. We talk on the phone, we do some FaceTiming, but it's her birthday. So I'm going to show up in Charlotte, at least to her window. She's going to get a little surprised and see her son. So I kind of want to wear a mask and go in her place, but I'm coming from outside an area, and she's vulnerable population. She's very healthy, but now she's doing well, but you just don't want to take that chance. So.
Right. We're all living it, aren't we? It's not just our work. It touches every part of our lives, and the relationships. And again, you talk about the relationships, Bill, not only of the people outside the organization, but inside the organization, right? They've had their challenges working from home. They might have children. that are in school or trying to get other things done. All of those things come into play. And it ends up having a lot more moving parts than it had before February or March.
Yes. Yes, I mean, I don't know if it's good fortune. I'm at the age where I don't have kids at home, but I'm sure for the moms and dads out there, they're not used to having the kids at home, or even the moms are not used to being with the dads and the dads with the moms. So it's more the marital relationship with which Nikki, you work with your husband, right?
I do. I do. There's that fine gray line,
Right, right. I a long time ago in another career, I did retirement planning for a major corporation and helped folks retire. And we brought in, there was a week of retirement training they went through. And one of the most important classes was the day we brought in the psychologist, the Social Security information, the marital counseling therapist. And they were all shocked that these people were coming to their seminar for the week. And that day was dedicated to the marriage surviving once whoever that spouse was going to be retired and in the home all day. So I think we've all, a lot of folks have experienced that unexpectedly. And so my hat's off to them and lots of prayers for them too, especially getting the kids back in school, it's been a tough one.
Yeah, and I think it was much more of a delicate balance than maybe any of us understood it to be, right? All of those things work together in concert, if you will, and one thing throwing off, but it's been 3 or 4 or 5 things or a dozen things that are thrown off and changed because of a pandemic and the resulting lockdown. Oh my goodness, it goes deeper than just the business, as we've said. Let's and thank you both. Rebecca, let's get you in here for a question from you or from one of those attending the event live.
Well, thank you so much, John, and have really enjoyed the conversation this afternoon. I want to touch upon the comment that Bill mentioned. It's for Bill and Nikki to answer this question. You were talking about the 6 months. Like, we've been through this COVID-19 pandemic now almost 6 months. I don't think any of us, when this first started, envisioned that 6 months later we'd still be like this doing Zoom meetings. So I know we don't have a crystal ball. Wouldn't it be lovely if we did? But what, in both of your opinions, does your next 6 months look like for your businesses? What do you think it's going to be like?
Nikki, let's have you respond first, please.
Rebecca, I wish that I knew. I think because we're having to really adjust, quite frankly, on an hourly basis, I don't know that I can think 6 months in advance. I'm kind of working month to month because the businesses are changing. It's just, I know that's probably probably not a good thing for me to say, but yeah, I don't know. We just have to adjust as we go. Yeah.
Well, I think that's along the lines of, Bill, what you said. It depends upon what Dr. Fauci says tomorrow.
Yeah,
in terms of how we project forward.
Right. We all, know the numbers, and you're hearing what's, the cases in South Carolina. As much as Fauci, it just seems like they're all over the place with what we need to do and how we need to act. That's what we don't know. But I think because of reading, we all read all the research, and that's all over the place. But I think with a chance of a vaccine being available by year end, and Fauci does say that, that I think that might change things. So, but it's always in business, you have a plan A and you have a plan B. And now with this, you need to have a plan C. So I kind of do all three. I have a 3 times a year publishing schedule in the market. So I kind of do it at 4 months at a time. It's kind of how I plan and adjust my business accordingly. And just work with the employees. We have our Monday Zoom meetings, and we discuss all these things every week. And yeah, it's adjusted because you don't know what tomorrow is gonna bring there. But we just put the plans in place, and then always ready to adjust you know, the curveball's coming in some way, and you just adjust to it. And we have the systems and processes already set up to make sure we can adapt to that. Or it's like, Nikki, you know that, you know, more of a digital presence sometimes help if you're not getting the circulation, but you've got a great way to circulate your booklets. So we've continued to build on our digital side, and we do all our flip books online, and we have, of course, a big social media presence, and with my other email digest websites that have grown substantially this year, which has been great. But it's kind of an uneasy feeling, and I think more as a business owner, and then a lot as an employee, because you don't know what the company. I mean, you have a franchise company that's been around for how long was the mailing company around? A long time.
Yeah, and just
me.
Just to be clear, they were purchased by another owner. I need to make that clear. They were bought out by another company, asset management company out of Chicago. Okay. 30 days later, but we had already, our plans were, we had everything set in motion. So we said thanks, but we're gonna just do something a little bit different.
Yeah, you know, and great. I think it's opportunity.
Yeah, and I think because we own the business and we are not held to the standards or that cookie cutter approach, we are able to adapt, you know, on a daily and an hourly basis. You know, if we don't feel like we can expand up in Somerville or North Charleston, we're not going to do it, you know. So
not much bureaucracy in your company.
No, other than my husband. So, but we're hoping and we're praying that our businesses can hang on. It's really hard out there for them. And we need those businesses to survive. They are our livelihood. And we hear some sad stories every day that, you know, some businesses were given it 60 more days, and we'll see how it goes. They just can't pay the rent and the bills and like they were. It's just not. I mean, some businesses are thriving, but others are not.
It seems to be kind of extreme. It's one way or the other. With a lot of the businesses have done really, really well, and others where they keep having to shut themselves down or getting shut down, and that's difficult. You know, and I would say I've been blessed and fortunate. We were pretty stable, so we've done okay, and but we have a lot, as you know, the companies, because we're advertising dollars, that kind of gets put at the bottom of the priority button a lot of times in the budget, because if they don't see it as an investment to generate business, then it's an expense. And of course, we don't want to hear that as marketing and advertising salespeople. We see we make you money, right? That's the reason.
Right.
So it's difficult. So we've had in our industry some businesses that have had a difficult time, and others have done really, really well. But we'll see. There is a lot of unknown that I just kind of trying to get through the rest of this year.
Yes.
We start a new year. We're all ready for 2021. I'm sure most people are ready for the next year. I certainly am. I'm ready to get into the holiday season, and hopefully we have something that allow us to get out and be safe, and our seniors can have a nice, a decent holiday, we'll say.
It'd be a great way to start the new year, wouldn't it, Bill?
Sure would.
Yes,
Let's, Nikki, how about a final thought from you and where someone can contact you, please?
Yeah, so I appreciate you having me on today. It's been an honor. Thank you very much. And I've enjoyed the conversation. I can be reached at nikki@localtrendcharleston.com, or we have a website, localtrendcharleston.com. We mail every month. Well, at least 11 times a year for now. So our contact information is on the publication as well. And I would really appreciate everyone's support in supporting those businesses that are going to appear in Local Trends. So thank you.
Go see those businesses. Go spend a little bit of money with those businesses.
Yes.
Keep them in business. They keep Nikki and Greg in business.
That's right.
That's how that works. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Bill, how about a final thought, please, and where someone can find you?
Yes, and thank you also. A big thank you to both you, John and Rebecca, for allowing me to have this time and joining you all. It's been great. I just think it's kind of, let's all just hang in there and help support each other. And I think that's the best way. I mean, even myself as a business, even with all the printing services that I use, I try to keep my money in the state of South Carolina. I mean, I think that's something important because with the printer I use within state, I know that I'm paying for a lot of jobs, and I'm trying to keep them going too, because they keep me going. So, and I try to use local services and tip people and try to keep the money local and just take care of each other. And then we'll all have a new day tomorrow. And I think that's important for all of us.
Yes, indeed. Bill, where can people find you?
Yeah, oh, yes. Well, you can see behind me, it's allaboutSeniors.org. All of our contact information is on there. My email is bsweezy, that's BSWEEZY @stripedrock. It's STRIPEDROCK.org. And certainly reach out. All my information is should be on the chamber site too. Would love to talk to anyone. We target seniors, obviously. Primarily a lot of caregivers, mostly females, about 70% are female, the best caregivers. So if you need to target those folks, please contact us. Glad to help you.
Fantastic, Bill. Thank you. Thank you, Nikki Bernay, co-owner of Local Trend Charleston and co-chair of the Mount Pleasant Chamber Philanthropy Committee, and Bill Sweezy, owner of Striped Rock LLC. Thanks to all of our chamber members who are with us live and those catching us on the recording. And a big thank you, as always, to Mount Pleasant Chamber's own Rebecca Imholtz for keeping us on track today. From all of us at the Mount Pleasant Chamber, thank you for joining us this week on The Pivot. Make it a great week.